Especially when they have some old computer equipment that they have to use. But you're going to work on that very hard. Larry, please. Larry.
Oh, thanks, sir. Just hats off to Mitch McConnell. Did an amazing job. And House leadership as well. And I agree with the bipartisanship. I want to give special thanks to my friend Stephen Mnuchin, who I think did an extraordinary job. We were up there helping him out in one spot or another, but he's indefatigable and got it done. And I'll just say this, Mr. President, a few months ago, this economy was roaring, and we've hit this, literally this bug, this virus, and we will deal with it. And I think the assistance bill here, which does have growth incentives, will help lead us back to a very strong economic rebound before this year is over.
I think that too. I think we're going to have a tremendous rebound at the end of the year, toward the end of the year. I think we're going to have a rebound like we have never seen before. Even now, it wants to rebound. You can see it and feel it. It wants to rebound so badly. And, you know, we've had those really big, I guess the biggest ever stock market surge 2 days ago, and yesterday was great. 3 biggest days of the history of the stock market. It wants to rebound so badly, but we have to get rid of the bug. We have to get rid of the virus. Now, I'm going to sign this, and it's a great honor. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point. I don't think so, huh? All right, thank you all.
They all work together with godly principles. And I'm proud of them. President Trump, Vice President Pence and team, and Senator McConnell. And all of our conservative congressmen. Including Thomas Massey, even though some might be a little upset with him, he voted what he felt.
I do.
And you can't fault a man for that.
Supply chain and the workers.
Anthony? Thank you. Thanks, Tony, very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Appreciate it.
Bob Lighthurst, thank you very much. Bob was a little less involved in this. He's too busy making trade deals. Okay, if you have one, you definitely have to have one. Go ahead. You're awesome. Thank you, everybody. So we're going to have a 5:30 news conference in the same location. Seems to be doing quite well. And we appreciate everything. And we really appreciate the fairness, at least from most of the press. We really do. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Mr. President, there was a rare moment of agreement today between you and Senator Kerry over this issue with Massey. Could you expand a bit on that?
Well, he made a little joke about a man named Congressman Massey. I thought he was totally out of line, Congressman Massey. Because of that, I guess a lot of people had to come back. And they had to go into a place which, frankly, we're not supposed to be in, you know, in light of what we're doing with Deborah and Tony and all of the professionals. So people had to come back, and just no reason for it. So John Kerry made a little joke out of it, and I agreed with his joke, and I said I never knew he had that kind of a personality, but we actually put it up, and he was right. Okay, we'll see you in a couple of minutes, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, Johnny.
Medicaid program.
That kind of discussion. All right, Greg, do you remember that scene in Aliens?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. I don't remember that scene really either. I was just going to try to keep this going.
Yeah.
But this, I wanted to focus on this do not resuscitate order. So this is a lot. This is personal for families, right? It's a good idea for you as parents to have these discussions, to know what's going so that your children can make. But there is nowhere, and Dr. Burks pointed it out, where you're actually having to have these discussions right now. So she was quite frustrated with the media last night.
Well, there's a lot of reasons to be frustrated. First of all, if you ever want to see how bias works, compare how they treat somebody they like with somebody they don't like when those two people share the same opinion. So Cuomo and Trump actually share the same opinion about balancing the tamping down of a pandemic and preserving the future of your economy. They both share the same sentiment. However, they portray Cuomo as, you know, a potential presidential candidate, while they say Trump is going to kill World War II veterans, which is what, as you know, Morning Glow said. But the idea, everybody understands what's going on, but the media pretends that they aren't. We know that this is not a stoplight that goes from red to green or green to red. We know this is going to be phased. Everybody understands it. And it's going to be phased having to do with your health risk. That's how it's going to work. So the idea that the media is always looking for a way to divide us, even in times when we have to unite.
And Jesse, if you think about that scene in Top Gun, when
Let it go,
You don't
Dan.
have it. You don't have it. No, I'm not going to get fooled again.
I'm trying so hard. I really need the energy of you guys around me. I'm just sitting here alone, just like working on these movies. Can't think of anything.
We're
But
alone too.
Jesse, to Greg's, yeah, well, you're alone, but we're together.
Yes.
The fact that the governor is being treated differently, I think this is kind of interesting because he is actually saying the same thing, and it's like if you hear it through a different filter, does it sound different?
Yeah, because he has a D next to his name. He maybe uses more words to explain it. Greg's right. The media is just scaring people now. It's not going from red to green. There's a big yellow in between the phase up of the economy. We're not all going back to work and coughing in the air, jamming onto subways, not washing our hands, putting our arm around our buddy at work. That's not happening. And the media is trying to make it seem like Trump is lifting all of these things, these guidelines, and just pushing people back into their cubicles in order to kill grandma to juice the Dow. It's not happening like that. And they're doing it to make sound bites and to get patted on the back by the rest of their colleagues. But it's really irresponsible. I do have a little respect for Cuomo, who in the middle of the pandemic said, you know what, maybe I made the wrong call. I wouldn't have said that, but I mean, it was brutally honest. And a lot of people are going to go back and think about what they did or didn't do, because a couple weeks ago, de Blasio here in New York was telling everybody, go out to dinner. The head of the health department in Manhattan was saying, you know, have a parade, life's going to be normal, let's just live our lives, and this is not a big deal. These people look really bad now, and it takes a lot of you-know-what to turn around and point their fingers at Trump at this point.
And Emily, from out on the West Coast, the perspective from out there, like knowing that this is possibly coming, and yet maybe being frustrated because you have all of these people under lockdown. What's the feeling out there about, are these measures worth it and are they working?
Right, it sort of carries over from our conversation in the last block, which is that an economic death is not mutually exclusive from these actual deaths that we're seeing, and that they're both interrelated in terms of these choices and decisions that are being made. And I think, you know, people keep talking about that we are careening into another Great Depression. But what we have this time that we didn't have last time was strong federal leadership and action. So, you know, remember Roosevelt's New Deal in 1932 was the antidote to Hoover's inaction from 1929. And so we have on our side finally a federal government that, as Jesse put it, is juicing the Dow. But, you know, at least is making strides to acknowledge that there is a correlation, and that you can't acknowledge the economic deaths without acknowledging the physical deaths as well. And I'm not an epidemiologist, obviously, but I have to point out that, you know, to Cuomo's point, that Harvard just published this study, their School of Public Health, that essentially multiple targeted social distancing measures is way more effective than full lockdown quarantine, because you have to balance up our herd immunity too. And for all of these predictions floating around, the one thing people agree on is that at some point there will be a resurgence of this, whether it's the fall or next year or both. And so we need to have a herd immunity to combat that. And that's only going to be achieved through relaxing the quarantines and having some type of social interaction.
Yeah, if I may, Cuomo was saying maybe it wasn't a good idea to have the children move back in with their parents and their grandparents all together in a small Manhattan apartment. That's what he's second guessing.
Right.
Yeah, I
And
just
Juan,
think that's
I'm
an
just
important point to
wondering-
make.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just picking up on what Jesse was saying. I think that's an important distinction. I think the president is much more about how we get the economy back. I don't think Cuomo's quite there. I think he's worried about having sent young people, including school children, back home with grandparents who are very vulnerable. But I think that when you look at the president's idea, I think he's thinking about which regions of the country, almost by zip codes, if you will, are being less impacted right now. The question I have in my mind, Dana, so if you open, let's say, Wyoming or Colorado, places you're familiar with, well, what do you say if somebody from New York says, oh, I want to go and spend the next 2 weeks in Wyoming or Colorado? I think you'd have to say, do we have to have travel restrictions in that situation?
Yeah.
How do you make a judgment about who gets reopened, who doesn't?
Better just
Well, I
look
think
in my
that's why there are
pocket.
people
Yeah, and I
together.
think-
You have the
Sheesh.
great thing about what's going on right now is you have the very best in medicine and economic powerhouses working together. That's why this either or prison of two ideas does not exist. They're always going to come to the right conclusion. I have faith in that, and I'm seeing it happen. That's why when the media is talking about, ooh, he wants them to die, or they want don't listen to it. It's just poison for your brain. They are
And Greg, I think people aren't listening to it.